Well, welcome back, Shell Buddies, and you probably just came here and joined us from Shell Chasing Part 3A, where we were shelling at the Matanzas Inlet. Now we're going to get into cleaning some of these crusty conchs up, and we're going to have a video filled with all kinds of tips, tricks, and safety notices to help you get the best results for your crusty buggers. So let's go clean some shells.
He's alive. Little Nassau there. Look how upwardly pointing these spines are on these.
Never, ever, never add water to acid. Okay, now that we took a look at some of the shelling at Fort Matanzas, let's go take a look at some of the cleanup on some of those crusty fluff mud covered buggers that we brought home from Strombus Island the day before. Let's get into it. You might even see a couple of the Carefree Learner shells thrown in here as well. And to let you know, this footage is going to be part of a much bigger series called Saving the Nasty Shells that will be coming out a little bit later this summer. Let's take a look at some of these nasty St. Augustine shells. Get these guys looking right. Now, just to let you know, off camera before I started this portion of the cleaning, I had already soaked them in soapy water, in rubbing alcohol, and in bleach water, 3 separate baths to get that mucky, nasty smell out of them, get some of the grime removed so that it wasn't so thick. Because you really can't have your acid magic doing all the work. You do have to do some pre-prep before you go ahead and acid dip these shells for the best possible outcome. But I just wanted to let you know, yes, they went into a soap water bath. Yes, they went into some alcohol to take the stink out. Yes, they went into a bleach bath as well to try to remove some of the algae and some of the other crud. Now we're ready to get going on acid washing. And, hot tip, a baking soda neutralizer, while not required for washing your shells with acid magic, is a really, really, really good idea. Not only do you neutralize the acid, you also prevent contamination of your rinse water so that in case you do put your hand in there without your gloves on, you're not getting any mild acid on you. And when it's time to dispose of your acid cleaning solution, this baking soda neutralizer will help make that acid inert so that you can dispose of it safely. I like to clean stuff up in acid magic, but I also take an extra step and use a baking soda neutralizer too. For the acid magic, you want 1:4 ratio. That means 1 cup of acid for 4 cups of water. You're also going to want some good rubber gloves so that you don't burn your hands, and an apron to protect your clothing as well. And I make up this baking soda neutralizer so that it stops any acid activity. And I use it as an extra step before I throw things into my rinse bucket. There's really not a set amount of baking soda that I put in, but I put in like a cup for a couple of gallons of water. I really want it to neutralize things. And I mean, it's powder. It's going to stick a little bit on the bottom, so you're going to have to bust that up a little bit, whether you use your hands or something to stir with, whatever. But just give it a good swirl in there. Then I add about, 2.5 or so gallons of water tops to the bucket. And I use this right after something comes out of the acid. It goes in here first so that I don't contaminate my rinse water with acid. And I just want both of these to be filled deep enough so that a bigger shell can go in here, be fully immersed and covered, and I can just dump things into the bucket. This is the container I'm going to make my water acid mixture in. Holds about 24 cups. And I'm also going to use this plastic cat litter scoop for moving things around because acid will eat metal tongs. Okay, so I've got a container that holds 24 cups of water.
And I'm obviously not got 24 cups of water in it, but I have about 16 maybe. And this is Acid Magic. This is a new bottle. Not the easiest thing in the world to open, but fortunately I have this handy little pick over here so I can break through that seal. And that little piece of foil, I'm throwing that right in the neutralizer. Not even gonna get that on anything. Alright, so with Acid Magic muriatic acid, the mix for cleaning stuff is 4-to-1. So if I have 16 cups of water in here, technically I would need 4 cups of acid. That's gonna bring me almost full to the top. I don't want that much in there.
And the reason I don't want that much in there is because think Archimedes and the measurement of volume. When you start putting things into this liquid, you're going to raise the level. If you've got it filled up almost to the top and you start putting shells in there and it starts bubbling and foaming around, you run the risk of having some splash over and some spillage. So I don't fill my acid and water container all the way to the top, number one. Number two, I'm also got glasses on and a mask to wear as well so that I'm not worried about any splashes. So you want to use your personal protective equipment and some precautions. Treat this stuff as if it is nitroglycerin, okay? It can't hurt you quite as bad, but it can hurt you. You need to respect it and you need to be, conscious of what you're doing. Also, number three, never, ever, never add water to acid. It'll splash out, okay? It'll cause a... You always add acid to water, okay? You always add your acid into your water so you're diluting it. Just some basic safety tips here. Don't want anybody getting hurt.
I want to have things a little more controlled. I'm going to put in right about there's a cup and then another half or so. And this should be more than enough to clean things. And just to double check and make sure we've got strength to it, I'm going to drop off in a sample shell that I brought over here. I have an acid dipped yet. Let's put the cap on that. Alright, so here we got a little true tulip. Seen better days, obviously. Let's see if this will clean him. Is it fizzing? Well, it's fizzing, but it's fizzing slowly. But that doesn't mean you need to have it super fizzy. The more fizzy it is, the longer you've got to neutralize it for. But what we want to do is agitate, and then we're going to get it into this, which is our baking soda and water mixture. Now already I can tell that a bunch of the cloudiness has been lifted off of this guy. So I'm going to say he might be okay. I'm also going to say the process is a teeny bit slow. So I'm going to let him dry. We're going to see how well he did. But just looking at it, I know I need a little more acid. I don't want to go too crazy, but that 1-to-4 ratio, that makes it pretty energetic. And a little tough to see with all the fizzing and bubbling. So I like to have mine just a slight little bit more diluted than that.
Now, I have done acid cleaning on my shells many times. I have used the straight muriatic acid stuff that you get at the hardware store. I've also used this Acid Magic. I prefer the Acid Magic. It just seems like it does a little bit better job with shells. The other stuff is a concrete cleaner. And another thing that I would like to note, yes, the ratio it tells you on the bottle is 4-to-1 or 1-to-4 for cleaning. That means 1 cup of acid for 4 cups of water. I don't generally like mine at that strength. It's pretty energetic and pretty foamy. And if I'm working on something slightly more delicate, I don't want that real aggressive foaming and not being able to see the shells. So I will use a little bit less than that 1-to-4 ratio. Mine's a little closer, 1-to-5, 1-to-6 actually, when it comes right down to it. I put about 2.5 cups of acid into my 16 cups of water. Number one, so I didn't overfill my container, and number two, so that I don't have that super concentration. It does take a little longer to get your shells clean this way, but you have a little more control over the process, and you run a little less risk of damaging your shells.
Now also, you'll notice I'm using a plastic scoop. I've got a couple of these. I guess they're cat litter box scoops or something. You can get them at the dollar store. They're great for little shark tooth sifters. They're also great for stirring and for doing exactly this. I'm wearing an apron. I'm going to be wearing gloves. I have a neutralized bath, which is not called for, not a rule, but just feeling of being safe here, is I want to neutralize the acid before I put it in my rinse water, because otherwise I'm just going to have acid and water mixed up in my rinse water. If I put it in the baking soda first, I've now neutralized the acid. Any action happening will stop, and I can get it truly good and rinsed off over in the water next to it, because the acid will be neutralized, and that's just water. So that's how I do my acid etching, acid dipping, however you want to call it. Now, there's some of those crusty buggers from the Carefree Learner, along with some other crusty buggers we found in St. Augustine. So I'm going to be running all of these guys through this acid mixture to get some of that calcification off of them. And in some cases, it's quite thick and heavy. So each one may take a separate amount of time. For these big shells, I'm going to do them one at a time. You'll see I got just enough in here to keep things covered. So I've probably got like 3 cups maybe of the acid in here, maybe 2.5, 3. So let's give it another try with another one. And this time I'm going to grab one of the big dogs, and we're going to see just how we're doing here. Oh yeah, that's a little more fizzing and fuzzing, and that's much better. Not super crazy energetic, but definitely doing it. I'm going to submerge your whole shell in there, which is why I'm using this bigger flat one, because otherwise I'd have to have a really deep bucket to do this for the bigger shells. So this large flat one kind of makes a little more sense. Now the smaller shells, you might only have to leave them in here for a few seconds, especially if you have the heavier concentration. But because I've toned the concentration down a little bit, and the shell is much bigger, and it's much more calcified, I'm not worrying so much about the timing on it. I mean, really 4 seconds tops when you're at full strength, but I'm a bit below that. And look at this. Oh my gosh. Can you even? Look how much crap came off of there. Let's get his stem back in there for a second. Get some more agitation going here where the calcification is the thickest. I'm just scraping at some of that a little bit, letting the acid magic get to it. Alright, one more dip. Now, if you left your shell in here, it'll just dissolve. If you forget one in here, it'll just turn into nothing. It'll just dissolve in the acid and turn to nothing. So, I wouldn't recommend leaving anything in here for long periods of time. Oh my gosh. That looks so incredibly good, and did a pretty good job cleaning up, getting all the crap off it too. Alright, into the neutralizer you go, buddy. You can just sit there for a second.
Let's look at that before and after. Here's before, chalky and calcified, and here is after. Now, yes, the colors look a little darker because it's wet as well, but you can clearly tell that the color is a lot more prominent now that that stuff's been removed.
Here's one of our crustier ones that we found in St. Augustine. I think when I picked it up, I thought it might have been a fighting conch, but now that I look at it, it's actually a knobbed whelk. And it's already been through bleach and alcohol and some soapy water. So it's crusty. It's got like marine cement on it. So we're just going to drop that in there, see what happens. Interesting that it's not as bubbly. Oh, there it kind of goes. There we go. We got the air out of there. That was part of the problem. Wow, he's in really gnarly shape. But you know what? It's a knobbed, and it's not like something we find very often, so I might have to spend some more time with this, with the Dremel. This did not get a Dremel visit yet. I really wasn't sure what I was dealing with, so put that back in there for a second. Now, another good reason for my baking soda bath, and also empty your liquid out of your shells before you drop them in there. That baking soda mixture is what I'm going to add this to neutralize the acid so that it becomes inert and safe to dispose of the liquid. So that's another good reason for making up a baking soda bath. Alright, well, this one didn't really improve much, but it was in such horrific shape that I'm not sure it would have anyway. It's pretty ratty. But, you know, at least got an idea, got a look at it. Into the water it goes.
So yeah, as you can see with this one, it was just a little too far gone. You can't really get a ton of... I mean, this stuff cleans. It doesn't work miracles, guys.
It soaks in through that stuff. Another guy. One of those crazy fighting conchs. And another one. Wow. Okay, guys, neutralizer you go. This one is covered with some kind of a worm or crinoid or something like that, and it's in nasty shape. I don't know what's going to happen. Let's see. It's a mystery.
I'm just going to speed that up a little bit because I did leave this in a little longer because there was so much going on.
Ooh. Well, kinda helping. Yeah, I'm not sure he was worth bringing home. It's pretty nasty. Another one of those crazy knob blocks. This one was a little broken, but this was like the first one I found, so my thought was if I didn't find any more, I'd like to at least have that one, because we're leaving St. Augustine with a whole lot of shells, that's for sure. Alright, let's see what we got here. This guy, he's a wreck. I'm not even bothering with that one. And this one, he's not much better. He's pretty wrecked too. He's a nice chocolate brown, but the top, like, outer layer of that shell is so surf-worn and scuffed up that he's not real pretty. Neither is that, honestly, because he's broken. He's a lot cooler, even though he's got that crazy oyster on him. And the spikes, oh my gosh, and that purple right there. Stromboid notch got kind of broke over here, but these, man, the color on those ones from St. Augustine are crazy. Super nice. My gloves are squeaking. Ooh, we got a couple of neorites and rock snails in there. I want to try this on too. And bigger whelk over in there yet. Alright, so let's see what these guys look like. Damp. Not awesome. Now, I don't do this type of stuff when it's still out and there's no wind either, because that does give off a bit of an irritating fume. So we got a nice cross breeze going this way and blowing all that stuff away from me.
Definitely do this outside, and definitely do not stick your face directly over that container either.
Alright, now let's grab the rock snail, the moon snail. Alright, I think I got more than one rock snail in here. I think I got two, so I'll get him too. And a big fat tinted cantharus. Alright, so these are what they look like after being alcohol and bleach washed. And you can see they're still a little crusty and grimy. But look at those neorites, aren't those fun? A little four-tooth neorite or something, I think that's called.
Now remember, this is how disgusting they were when they were found, and looking at them you can't even see that there's any color whatsoever going on these shells. Here they are after soap, bleach, and rubbing alcohol, and it's made quite a dent. But how did they turn out? Well, you're going to have to stick around to the end to see.
Here's another really nasty, beat up old knobbed. I don't even know why John picked that up. But I have a feeling it might be a fossilized one. Some really dark colors in it, so I don't know. Put it in there and we'll see what happens. Kind of get to the bottom of the bucket here. What do we got here? A little crown conch. He looks nice. Not so much. And this one, lost cause. That's a lost cause right there. Some more small guys. One of these is a pear whelk from the East Coast. One of them is a pear whelk from here. And the only way I can tell the two apart is that the one from on the East Coast is thicker. And then there's a couple of tinted cantharus, a hinged quahog pear that's kind of discolored, and one of those funky red arcs. Let's see what happens with these. It's bringing out the cantharus real nice. Oh, wow. There we go. Now I have other shells from some other trips and I'm going to run through the acid while I have it made. But once your acid is made, as long as it's still fizzing when you drop something in it, it's still good. If it's weaker, you can add a little more of the muriatic to it and bring it back. And when you're done, you're ready to dispose of it. You're going to put this in your baking soda bucket and you're going to put more baking soda in it until it stops fizzing. And then it'll be neutral and you can dump it and dispose of it. Here's some of our projects from the St. Augustine trip. Now, not all the fighting conchs came out great. Some of them were pretty lost causes when we picked them up, but we were finding so little we took them because we weren't finding anything. This is one of those crazy knobbed whelks. He looks like he could do with a little more cleaning, like he's got some goo on him still. But look at that on the bottom, how beautiful. So yeah, these fighting conchs came out amazing. And then I thought this was kind of interesting too. This parallel was from the East Coast. This parallel was from the Carefree Learner trip. And I don't know about you, but I see it, whereas there's like a difference in the tip on it. This one is a little broken, but this shell is just thinner, and this one's thicker. And it's not that it's that much bigger, so it's not an age thing. So I thought that parallel came out really nicely. And then there's those crazy neorites. We don't get those here on our coast, but those are neorites. And we didn't get very many of these either, just these couple of them. These guys here, Florida rock snails. This one could stand with some more work getting done on him to clean him up more fully, but this guy came out really nice. He's got a couple of oysters on there. I'll get him with the Dremel and clean him right up. We found a lone tulip with a funky repair. And look at these little tinted cantharuses. They actually seem to be quite a bit bigger than what we find here for that same exact shell. And again, they're much thicker. So this is the whole collection of stuff from when we went to St. Augustine. Like I said, we didn't get a lot. We put some of the really hopeless ones out in the flower garden pits already, but so we got some fighting conchs. Most of them were pretty shabby, but some of them were really nice. This guy, now you can tell I might have maybe left them in the acid a scotch bit too long. They still feel kind of smooth, but their surface is a little dull. But when they're oiled, they'll come bouncing back. And I'm not sure if this is periostracum on them, the stuff with the lines, or not. We found a sailor's ear of all things with all of this heavy clunky stuff, which was funny. Some of these crazy big oysters, they were all discolored, and bleaching and acid didn't do a thing to them. One of them, though, let me see if I can get this in the light, has this beautiful pearlescent mother of pearl nacre on the inside. So I thought that was pretty lovely, especially this section right here where the rainbows are happening. And this guy had it too. You can see the little rainbows in there. And believe it or not, we found a bunch of pieces of angel wing, and the person who was guiding us there said, oh no, we don't get angel wings around here. And we're like, are you sure? Because these are pieces of angel wings, clearly. So they're there somewhere. Where? No clue. But they're there somewhere. Got those rock snails, the neorites, the tinted cantharus guys, these fun little tiny clams, which I thought were cool. That weird little guy that's sort of like a button and isn't. And then these guys, these arcs. Now, these here, these guys I think are the same kind, but this one is different. This one is more beaded, more sculptural, more detailed.
So again, the one on the left is going to be the blood arc, and the two on the right hand side are both the incongruous arc. One of them feels a little thicker than the other, but shape-wise and sculptural detail, yes, both incongruous.
See if I can find them. And these little guys really fascinated me here. These little clams. I thought these were really neat. Let's get them in the light. They're so colorful and small and cute. And they're probably just little baby surf clams that are discolored, but yeah, I thought they were pretty, so I brought them home. And then I found this crazy piece of tile. What that was doing over where we were got me. Who knows? But I loved the colors. That blue and green on there. It's a modern one. You can tell there's like a machine-made back to it, so it's not that old, but... And then this cute little pair of quahogs. Tell by that nice bright purple there. This guy is a hinged pair, goes together. He's all iron discolored from something. That's what that red is from. And some titan acorn barnacles, which we do get over here on our side as well. But I just happened to find these and thought, oh, wow, those are really nice. Those are really nice pink ones. So there we have it. And this is the wrap up from our St. Augustine trip. One of the things I was happiest to get was this knobbed whelk. Much bigger spikes on it than a lightning whelk, and opens on the opposite side. So that was cool. We found a couple of them, but 2 of them were in such horrendous bad shape that they're just going in the flower garden. But there you have it, St. Augustine and our fabulous trip out to the Carefree Learner.
Now, once my shells are all cleaned, we have to let them dry out for a little bit, and then we're going to do my favorite part, bringing some restoration back to them with a little bit of oil.
I have cleaned some of the Carefree Learner and the Crusty St. Augustine shells. I'm kind of going to just show you a little bit of the difference between the St. Augustine shells and the stuff that we get around here locally normally. All right, these guys, Lido Key. These are normal Lido key fighting conchs, about average for size, maybe a teeny little bit small in the case of this guy here with the funky colors. But for the most part, this is about the size that we find them around here. For comparison, these big beasts were the ones that we got in St. Augustine that were crusty, mucky, and disgusting. They've been rinsed and bleached and scrubbed and acid washed, and we're going to give them a little bit of an oil to kind of bring their color out a little bit. But I just wanted to show the difference in, I mean, these guys are beefy. There's no doubt about it. They're a heavier, bigger shell. And so that was kind of interesting to see that difference, even though we didn't come home with a lot of stuff that was nice. And it took a tremendous amount of work to get this stuff clean. I'm going to just show you some of the others that were semi-cleaned, not all the way. And you can see, I mean, there's big, giant oysters on them, or they're covered in these like worm, crinoid, whatever things. And some of it picks off, but it is a tremendous amount of work to get it off of there. These guys here, another oyster. And I mean, that stuff was just, that fluff mud, to get that stuff off of there was absolutely outrageous. So I may have left these in the acid a little longer than I would normally with a fighting conch because it dulled them a little bit. That's where the oil is going to come in. This is just a little bowl of coconut oil, just organic coconut oil. I know a lot of people like mineral oil, but I like the coconut because coconuts grow where shells grow. And mineral oil is it's a byproduct of getting oil out of the ground and making gas with it. So I would rather coat my natural shells in a natural oil as opposed to a industrial byproduct. That's just me. Mineral oil is inert. They even make food grade stuff of it. They, you know, it's just me. It's my thing. I would rather use the coconut. So he was on the pale side anyway, and I couldn't really tell because he was so grimy and grubby. So let's see what happens if we just put a little oil on him. Look at how the color kind of bounces back. And I mean, you don't have to do this with your finger. You can do it with a brush. You can do it with a sponge. You can do it with a paper towel if you want to, whatever, doesn't matter. I don't mind getting it on my fingers and feeling the shell while I'm doing it. So now he was left in the acid a little long because it kind of janged up his real shiny stuff that usually looks like mica right here, but he was so gross and dirty. I think that's why I left him in there so long. He was gnarly. So yeah, he wasn't really necessarily worth saving. He was surf worn and beat up in the first place, covered in oysters. But it just goes to show, even if you find a really awful, hideous shell, not a beautiful specimen one, there are things that you can do to kind of give it a little life back. So if that made that guy look that much better, what happens to him? Yeah, he's a definite St. Augustine guy, this one. Look at that. Just rubbing a little bit of oil into it. Look at those beautiful zigzags in there. Oh, and on the inside too. Just give it a little right there. Punch up the prettiest part of the conch shell, which I think is the lip. So yeah, he's kind of nice too. Okay, that's a little better. Now you got a bit of a better idea here. These are the chocolate colored ones from Pass a Grill that were cleaned up. I mean, that size difference is just insane. Look at that. Just crazy how much bigger these guys are. So yeah, we'll keep these off to the side because I will oil those up as well. This one is in pretty good shape. He really isn't hazy or cloudy. He cleaned up really nicely. So I think he might get a little bit of a improvement from the oil, but not like these others will. Okay, my neighbor a couple of houses away just started playing some music kind of loud outside, so hopefully I won't have to throw music over this to cover that up, but I might. Anyway, we'll kind of just crack on and see if we can get through this without too much background noise. Alrighty, so this shell, you can see he hasn't been oiled. He has been dipped and clean, and he still has a little bit of a sheen to him. This guy was so crusty and gross that the only place he has any sheen on him is where I touched him with my oily finger here. But that's about to all change here in a second. He's going to look really nice. And I'm just going to put the two of these next to each other. And oh, and point out this too. This is one of those Pass a Grill ones. I know it's not part of the Augustine stuff, but look at that with the dent. He's a weirdo. I just love weirdos. And I just love that dent. Wait till we see how much that oiling will kind of show that. Now that he's shiny, you can really see where that dent is. And then I thought that was pretty cool. So basically all I do is this. I rub a little bit of the oil in with my fingers first. Get the inside of the lip and every place that looks kind of hazy. And if you can't get into the nooks and crannies, that's what paper towels and paintbrushes and such are for. Q-tips, whatever. And just rubbed it in, and look how beautiful. Oh my gosh. So nice. So can we make something that used to look like this? Look like that? Well, we did a lot of work with the Dremel and the washing and cleaning. I left the guy's barnacle on this one just for fun, just because it was cool there. I didn't really want to take it off. I kind of like it. So let's oil them. Let's get them all oily and pretty and chocolatey looking again. Look at that dark line on that. That is so awesome. Oh my gosh. Yeah, these are pretty big. I wasn't impressed with how dirty and grimy they were, I'm gonna tell you. But on the size factor, boy oh boy, these guys outshine ours on the Gulf. I'm gonna say it. They're just so much bigger. So yeah, look at that. The difference in from dull and unoiled, which I'm now oiling because my hands are oily. Gosh, that makes such an incredible difference on them. And again, if you want to use the mineral oil, go for it. I'm just, I don't know. I think the coconut oil does just as nice of a job on them without it being icky and gross. And this stuff is so, I mean, this is just 100% organic coconut oil. I can put that on my skin, right? So it's not going to hurt you at all getting it on your hands or anything. There's not going to be any weird feel or anything like that. Now, if you get a little too much oil on them, you can take that off with a paper towel. He's got a little too much. You do this with a paper towel, or you know what else works really good is the cloth baby diapers they sell as towels. They're really nice and soft and absorb well too. Okay, so we got our excess off, and now look how beautiful and shiny and glossy and gorgeous that shell is. Oh my goodness. So yeah, it does pay to take that extra step, 100%. And went from looking exactly like this guy did to looking just gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. So it is worth the step. And some of these St. Augustines were so rough. I mean, I honestly wasn't sure. I'm like, do I really even want to be bringing these home? Good Lord.
Just to refresh your memory, this is how grimy and disgusting these things were when we found them at the inlet. Ugh.
They're just so awfully gross. But boy, oh boy, came out beautifully. So that is the last step in saving some of these nasty crusty buggers we brought back from St. Augustine, is not only the bleach and the acid dipping, but an oiling step as well. How lovely. Let's do a few more of them, now that we know what the before and after kind of looks like. Now this one here, he was in really ratty shape. I put oil on him and you can already see he's dulled again. He soaked up and sucked up all of it. Throw a little more on him and see if it helps, but I don't think it's going to. When they're in that rough a shape, not much saves them, to be honest. Just polish that in a little bit with the towel.
Now, as a last resort, last ditch kind of a thing on a shell that's that frosty, let's call it, roughed up, and if you really want to get some shine back to it, the only way you're going to be able to do that is with a spray varnish of some sort, or maybe like a UV resin or something along those lines. So if you really want it to be shiny and it's rough and it's the only one you have, that is a last ditch thing that you can do to bring some shine back up on it. But you can if you oil it, because that stuff will not stick. Glue and things like that will not stick to something oiled. So just keep that in mind. If you have one that's really bad like that and you really want to shine it up a little bit, skip the oiling and try for giving it some Mod Podge and maybe a little resin over the top and see if that helps. Or Gorilla makes a clear glue that will also be a good thick glaze that you can use for that too.
Yeah, it helps. But he's just gonna, he was so rough, he's gonna just soak up more and more of it, and he's not really gonna end up coming out like this guy or like this guy at all. He was too far gone to bring him back. But it's hard to tell if something's too far gone when it starts out looking like this. So it's worth it to go through the extra steps and see what you actually have. Let's put these guys back here. He's another cleaned and not oiled. And this guy, of course, I really didn't want to hit this with the Dremel and destroy what was on the surface, because not only did he have that muddy stuff on him and all these worms, he also has what looks to be like a little tad bit of marine cement. I have another experiment for a different video that I'm going to be doing with trying to get some of that cleaned up and not using something so aggressive as the Dremel. We'll get to that at a later date. We'll save him for that. So this one doesn't really need any. He's already pretty nice, but will he benefit from a little? Yeah, probably. Especially in here where it's still a little calcified. What a difference that makes. Oh my gosh. And on the outside, he looks so shiny and pretty now. Ooh. Super duper. Remove any of the excess paper towel. Just kind of polish it up a little bit. So yeah, even when that was in good shape, that was cleaned, a little oil made it really rich and beautiful. But the difference with these is striking. And you know what? I'm going to put these on the towel so you can kind of see the difference. Go before and after oil here to kind of show what we're aiming for. Yeah, I didn't really want to cover the table with anything since I was going to be doing oil, but kind of need to. And just a little spit still on my fingers. See what a difference that's already making. So you don't need a lot of oil to do this. Very little. I mean, you know, a couple of teaspoons and it will do it. And see how the inside is cloudy where I didn't rub it? And then where I did, it's so much richer looking. Try to hold this in the light so you can see it, what happens when I go over it. See that? Look at the difference. Beautiful. Oh my gosh, she's so pretty. Oh God, picking those up that day, looking the way they did, you would never have thought in a million years they would come out this nice. And he had a little bit of oyster junk on him that just flaked right off when I added the oil. Go figure. Huh. That's interesting. Got it all rubbed in and good all the way around all the points and the spires. Man, beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And I just make sure that I rub everything in, get the excess off. And there you have it. How awesome is that? Well, now that we've seen what it's done to these fighting conchs, let's try a couple other things and show you some before and after too. Now, here's the only rock snails we were able to really get and keep that didn't have something in them. This one I have not oiled. This one I dropped in the oil to see if it made a difference. They were both very difficult to get the calcification off, and I didn't want to leave them in the acid too long. So yeah, the oil does seem to help them, even if they are still a little bit on the cloudy side of things. I didn't take the Dremel to this guy either, so he's got a little bit of oyster stuff on him. But so let's go ahead and oil him up and see how much better he looks. Now I could just dump them all in the oil bowl, but that's going to be a lot harder to get the excess dealt with, so I just, again, putting a little bit on my finger and rubbing it in. Oh my word. That is incredible. So beautiful. So there was what the rock snails looked like after cleaning and oiling. And this one is absorbing the oil. There's very little excess sitting here on the surface to wipe off. There we go. Pretty awesome. Here's the nearites. We got a couple of nearites. Let's just half oil that. Wow. Oh my gosh. Now we gotta see it all the way. Oh my goodness. Ah! What a difference. Now these guys have a little texture to them too, obviously. So there's some little nooks and crannies, but if you let the oil sit there for a second, it just sort of travels a little bit into them, so. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Wow. Love it. What else? How about this crazy arc? He's a little rougher looking than he should be. Let's put some oil on him. Ooh. Oh my. Yeah, he's pretty too. Ooh. Come back here, you. Yeah. Oh yeah. Lovely. Look at that. So much better. We also got a weird dark oyster and a couple of the tinted canther shells. And this Titan acorn barnacle, which has been cleaned up. Now, it retains some color already, but I have a feeling when this gets some oil, it's really going to be vibrant. Let's find out. Ooh. Oh, wow. Look at that. Yes, please. That looks great. So even crazy old barnacles bring up their color nicely with that. Just admire him now. He looks a lot nicer. Lovely. Alright, so here's dull. Not oiled, but cleaned. Let's see what the oil does to the cantharus. Oh, interesting. That has this weird bluish tone to it almost from that sediment. That's pretty crazy. He's got such a nice, sharp, spiky point too. He's great. Yes. More subtle on this shell. Not as dramatic as the conch, but still quite nice. How about this dull looking black oyster? Wow. Boy, oh boy. That's fun. Yeah, I mean, he didn't look like anything, and now he's really sharp too. Alright, it's super hot out here, and the GoPro is overheating, so I'm going to have to try to get through this kind of quickly. Take off some more paper towels, because the other one's shredded. And we're going to take a look at a couple of oysters. Now, this is one of those weird flat oysters that I found there. This is actually the inside, and you can see there's a bit of a shimmer to it. I wanted to see if that nacre would get prettier with the oil. If it punches it up or if it doesn't. I mean, it makes it a little shinier, but it doesn't make the pearlescent really any sharper on this one, so. Now, I also found these guys and cleaned these up. These were pretty rough, too. And they barely look like they've been cleaned, but they have, believe it or not. So let's see. Oh, heck yeah. That gives us some much more interesting color on the outside. Something that was pretty pale. That's a pretty significant difference. About this inside, it's pretty dull looking. Well, the oil definitely makes it more colorful. I'm not really sure if it matters on this, but yeah, that does it does give it a different kind of a flavor, doesn't it? Now, these guys here, I don't want to go ahead and do oil on them because I was going to craft with these. When you oil your shell, your hot glues and your things like that don't want to stick anymore. So if you've glued a project together and things are dull, you need to shine it up with Mod Podge, not oil, because oil will make your glue not stick. But if you wanted to see that it does make a difference, it definitely does. Boy, my GoPro is not happy in this heat at all, so let's work quick. There's a couple of little Florida cones. Got them brighter automatically. This little guy here. I'm just doing half of them. You can see it's really bringing his color up. He's a lot darker and prettier now. And what about this white one? It doesn't make as much of a stunning difference on the ones without the color, but it does make a little bit. That's kind of fun. Okay, and now for a welt comparison. These are our normal lightning welts. These are the knobbed. I didn't take the Dremel to this. This was just acid washed and cleaned. This is still dull. I mean, he hasn't been oiled either. But you can see the difference, though, with the big spikes versus the much smaller ones of the lightning welt. Also, open on different sides. How fun is that? So let's take, since he's so dull, and give him a little bit of that spa treatment here. Oh my gosh, look at this. Wow. Now he's a little rough, and I'm not sure this outer part is going to benefit a whole lot, because he had a lot going on with him. And there we go. Definitely darken up their colors with the oil. He was in such bad shape, he's probably just going to absorb all that oil. And that's okay. Alright, the GoPro completely balked. It's too hot. So I'm going to try to do this with my phone resting on the GoPro. See if this works. Alright, so here's a regular welt that I have not oiled. It's a Carefree Learner Whelk. This one was too. It's in a lot harsher shape. Looking pretty rough. Let's get a little oil on there. Oh yeah. So even the ones that are pretty gnarly and fossilized, they benefit. Uh-oh. Phone's wanting to fall down. Now this one obviously had boring sponge and other issues going on with it too. I can't make him perfect, but I definitely made him better. How about this little lovely guy? Oh. Yeah, he's worth oiling. He's great. Looks lots better than he did. Boy, oh boy. And polish him up, and he's pretty awesome too. Beauty. Before oiling, after oiling, and the better shape that the shell is in, obviously, the better it's going to clean up and look. This one looks outstanding. I've buffed it already with the paper towel, and he's keeping that nice shine. He's really, really pretty. But this one used to be just as dull as this one. They're almost the same colors. And look what a difference that makes. Now also, and this is pretty fascinating, I oiled this one, which was not, really worth cleaning, but it made some of this oyster come off. So now I've got this weird idea that I think I might want to soak something in oil to see if it helps remove some of that gunk. I've got one of these big St. Augustine Stromby shells, so I'm going to go ahead and put some oil on that and see if soaking in some oil helps release the oyster on it. And it might not be a 5-minute process. I mean, this might take a while. I'm going to let that sit for the day, and we'll just see what ends up happening. We'll find out together. All right, so back to these whelks. All right, they were both pretty foul and pretty crusty, and he's not awesome. I'm not going to lie. He's not fantastic. But oiling him made a humongous difference. And he soaked a lot of it up, so he could probably stand to have a little more put on there. Now, he's in rough, bad shape. He's got still barnacles, marine cement, he's calcified, and he's already been through an acid dip. He doesn't look spectacular, so he's going to be experimented on, and we'll see what happens with an oil soak and a new possible tool. But again, that's going to be a different video. So he might get experimented on a little bit more. But overall, I have to say, I'm very pleased with how much the color improved. And again, this guy here, dull, flat, no oil. This one here has some. So he's kind of a before shell. And you can already see he's worth oiling too. Bring out that beautiful pattern. Dull. Rich. Yeah, that's cool. Such a little thing, but it makes such a huge difference, especially with that awesome black oyster. Those great Titan barnacles. Look at the colors now on there, now that it's soaked in and settled in. Man. And those strombus shells, not those two, those are Passagrill, but these big beasts over here made a heck of a difference. That one was in rough shape. We could only help him so much, but these here, outstanding. And this one is going to get an oil too. So there you have it. After you go through the cleanup, go through the process of oiling your shells for putting them on your shelves and really make them look really nice. Just washed, nothing else done to it. Needs more help. Washed and acid dipped, not oiled. And the oiled, and isn't it beautiful? So, just about as found, cleaned and oiled. Gorgeous. So there you have it. What a difference taking some extra steps makes on these guys. It's really incredible. I can't get over the difference that not only, cleaning them made, but the oiling at the very end after the acid wash really punched them up nicely. Beautiful. Well, this series is an absolute roller coaster ride. We had a kind of a miss at Bolano Beach. Really fun time over at the sandbar. A number of misses in the Matanzas Inlet area. And for the next stop, we're going to be doing something super special. We're going to go to Michler's Landing, and we're going to meet up with Roxanne from Florida Beach Walks. I hope you're enjoying this crazy spring and summer shell chasing series. And man, can you believe how pretty some of those mucky, nasty ones came out? Mwah, beautiful. They look great. So much nicer than when they were found. Oh man. I hope you're enjoying this series. We're going to go to Michler's and have some fun. Meet Roxanne and her family. Well, part of her family. I don't think all the kids were there. But thank goodness for Roxanne, because she sent me home with a pretty decent bag of shells too, which kind of saved the last couple of days for us and was excellent. Not only that, but we also went kayaking at night at this little place in Ponte Vedra that has bioluminescent comb jellyfish. Ah! That was so awesome. So make sure you come on back and continue on with the spring and summer shell chasing series with us, because once we finish here in St. Augustine, we're going to be going to Marco Island area. We're going to hit Kais. We are going to hit Morgan Island. We are going to hit Lover's Key State Park. And we are going to mack it. It was fantastic. About halfway through this series, come on back for some more adventure and fun, and we'll see you again right here next week from the beach. Keep a look at the end of the video for some more links so you can watch some other adventures. And remember, if you want to have adventures like these, then you know what you need to do. Get out there and go shelling.